All right, so we'll go on and get started. Good day, everyone. Welcome. My name is Evelyn Namara, Manager Global SIG and Community Engagement. Thank you for taking time off to join us for yet another intercommunity event. This time though, unlike other times, under very tough circumstances where the world is facing a global pandemic, COVID-19. We hope you and your families are keeping safe. So today, our virtual conversation is about enhancing internet resilience through building IXPs and community collaborations. We've seen many of us turn to the internet, especially during these difficult times, but also seen many question the resilience of the internet during these hard times. We have a very wonderful panel today ready to lead us into a conversation and to share with us the work they've done and continue to do around the topic of IXPs and community collaborations. So just before we dive in, allow me to remind us of some basic housekeeping rules for this call. We remind you to use the chat for all questions. Sorry, I'm just trying to turn off the poll so that I can see the housekeeping rules. Yes, we remind you to use the chat for all questions. Keep your questions brief and to the point. And we kindly remind you to format your question with your first name and your country. If you have a question in French and Spanish, please feel free to type this. Someone will translate those and send them to the moderator. And then at all times, please keep your microphone on mute unless you're asking a question. And last but definitely not least, this session will be recorded and the link will be shared with you for future viewing. And now, without further ado, I'll hand you over to our Senior Vice President, Internet Growth, Jane Coffin, to lead us.
Good morning, buenos dias, marhaba, hello. It's so great, and I should say jambo to many people we know, and bonjour. It is so good to see so many people joining us, and as Evelyn has just said, thank you for coming in these difficult times. The work on internet exchange points and the communities of interest and the partnerships we have are even more important right now. And we're so excited to share with you some of the work that partners are doing and some of the team has been doing. And so this falls underneath some of our internet exchange point and network operator group work that we do with partners. We can't do anything alone. And this is really all about you and the resiliency that you have and the resiliency that internet exchange points are having and showing on the internet ecosystem, which is surviving during these difficult times. So we are going to bring to you different perspectives on why IXPs are critical for resiliency, the role of collaboration and partnership, and the importance of what you all do, the role of policy and regulation, and the role of capacity building. We have great people here to speak to you, and many of whom we have worked with to help build internet exchange points, to help govern. We've got great work here with Ahmed from Pakistan, Bijal from EuroIX, who is a wonderful colleague, and we've done great work together, both in training and development of IXs, Roberto from Bolivia, and Jean-Baptiste coming from Burkina Faso. We have a wonderful moderator, Esther, and before I turn over to her, I do want to give Machuki a 2-minute window. He's helping lead the Internet Exchange Point team, and I'm going off script a little bit because I want to make sure he has an opportunity to give you an idea of what he and the team are doing. So Machuki, I'm going to turn it over to you, but I just want to say thank you, both to the ISOC team that has put this together, to all the people speaking today, and to all of you that are building a bigger, better, stronger internet. And thank you to those people that showed up 2 hours ago with me. We got the time wrong. So thank you for coming back. And so Machuki, over to you for about 2 minutes. I'm going to share my time with you.
Thank you, Jane. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Thank you for making time to join us this day, this hour, this afternoon, depending on where you are. First, I'd like to recognize the fact that we work for the internet. And one of the roles that we've had is the opportunity to make it better, stronger. And the project that we work on at the Internet Society is called Infrastructure and Community Development, which basically looks at bringing together technical communities to help develop critical infrastructure such as internet exchange points. And we work with a global team team helps us to do the work across various regions, starting all the way from the Asia Pacific region, all the way to the west of Latin America and the Caribbean, to the north and of Northern America and Africa and beyond. So I work very closely with Naveed Haq, who's based in Asia Pacific. Naveed, just say hello so that your face shows up to the
Hi,
screen.
assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Thank you, Naveed. And about 15 others in the project that we work with very closely together. So we're looking forward to having a great conversation today. And hopefully we'll also get to answer a couple of questions at the end of during the Q&A session. So with that, I'll take you back to Jane.
And I believe next up we have is it correct, Evelyn, that we have a poll?
Yes, we do. It's already showing right now.
Excellent. Okay. Well, then we will skip over without any further delay to our wonderful moderator, Esther Kobina from the London Internet Exchange Point, Links. Links is a great partner and they've done amazing work, and they are one of the key IXPs keeping the internet resilient. So Esther, without any further delay, over to you. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jane. Looking forward to today's conversations with everybody. We have 4 very good speakers that we're going to be listening to, as Jane has already told us. And we're also going to be having polls running during the presentations. So if you could keep an eye out for the poll questions, set your answers, and then once we've heard from our speakers, I'll go back to the questions and let you know the results of the poll. Our first speaker is going to be Ahmed from Pakistan IXP, and he'll be going over some various topics, and he'll be talking to us today about the challenges that he's had with collaboration and partnership, and also policy and regulations during these unprecedented times. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Over to you.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to discuss. My name is Ahmed Bakht. I'm working for the telecom regulator in Pakistan, and I'm also managing Secretariat of Pakistan Internet Exchange Point. Can you give me? Okay, thank you very much. So currently we have 2 IXPs in Pakistan, one at Islamabad, which is the capital city, and we have 9 operators in Islamabad, including the PTCL incumbent operator and Telenor mobile operator and Pakistan Education and Research Network. And at Karachi, which was started in February 2019, we have Cybernet, which is the largest ISP in Karachi, and Telenor mobile operator, and PTCL is also in process of joining Karachi IXP. In addition to these 2 IXPs, we are also working for the establishment of IXP at Lahore, and we have started coordination with all of the stakeholders. Next. So these are the traffic stats from Islamabad IXP. Traffic is ranging between 16 GB to 10 GB, depending on the circumstances. Nowadays, due to coronavirus, universities are closed, and traffic of Pakistan Education and Research Network is very low, which is affecting overall traffic of Islamabad IXP. So traffic is very low. So one thing we have observed that most of the people are working from home, and the video conference tool are hosted abroad. So all of the traffic is going through the internet instead of IXP. Next. So if we look at about several roles in IXP, there are several roles, but I have selected some of the roles. Capacity building, very important. and then the hosting side, which should be neutral and accessible for all, and then provisioning of equipment through neutral body, and then configuration and monitoring, and then coordination among these stakeholders, and then there should be a body which can oversee all of these activities. The next. In Pakistan, we have a perfect multi-stakeholder model. We have representation from, for the IXP board, we have representation from all of the ISPs, bandwidth providers, regulator, academia, hosting site, cellular mobile operators, Islamabad ISOC chapter, and secretariat is managed by the regulator. Next. So capacity building, which is very important, it was done by ISOC. Jane Coffin and Philip Smith came to Islamabad for the capacity building of Islamabad IXP, and Mr. Aftab Siddiqui came to Karachi for the capacity building of Karachi IXP participants. And we are also in coordination with APNIC for the capacity building of Lahore IXP. And Higher Education Commission, or HEC, provided the space for both IXPs. And it is very important to mention that they have not charged even a penny from any of the operator for the last 4 years. And the equipment was provided for the Islamabad IXP by the Huawei, and for the Karachi IXP by the ISOC. And configuration was done for by the volunteers from the telecom industry and Higher Education Commission team, and at Islamabad, and at Karachi it was done by CyberNet team. And the regulator is coordinating all of these efforts between stakeholders. And then there is IXP board, which is making policy and overviewing all of these activities. Next. So up to this level, everything is perfect. We have perfect coordination among all of the participants and all of the stakeholders, but there is a need to have some good policy to further improve this, like participation from all ISPs. If we ask someone to please join IXP at Karachi or Islamabad, they said, okay, let us know whether it is regulatory obligation or not. If it is regulatory obligation, we will join. And if it is not, we are sorry. And same is the case with the CDN deployment. We need to have a policy whether the CDN should be deployed at the IXP, or it should be deployed at the ISP, which will share CDN traffic with the IXP, so that small operators can get benefit of CDNs and IXP. And similarly, we need to have encourage local hosting through some policy. As I mentioned earlier, that most of the video conference tools are hosted abroad, and traffic is going through internet instead of IXP. And at the same time, we need to have a cooperation with the regional countries, like we are sharing borders with China, India, Iran, and Afghanistan. And ideally we can extend our IXP to China, Afghanistan, Iran, or even to Russian states through some good policy. And similarly, we can extend our cooperation with the regional forums. So my point of view is that if having cooperation between stakeholders and a good policy are interrelated. If you have a cooperation between the stakeholder, it's very good, but you need to have a very good policy. And if you have a very good policy and stakeholders are not cooperating, then it will not work. So from the regulator point of view, we are actually working at this stage. We are quite liberal and asking to everybody to decide at their own. But we need to have some regulatory cover so that more and more people can get benefit of IXP. So this is my point of view. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much for that, Ahmed. That was very interesting. And I think we had a poll running during that session. Do we have the results of that poll?
Yeah.
Okay, and the question for that was, what is an internet exchange point? And the overwhelming result, as you can see, was that it keeps local traffic and keeps costs down for the network.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I don't believe we have any questions for you at this time. So we'll come back to you in the Q&A session at the end. Now we're going to have another poll running before we have our next speaker. So we'll have this running during John Baptiste, I believe, is up next from Burkina Faso. And he'll be talking to us today about collaboration and partnership and capacity building during these unprecedented times, again, to say whether he's had difficulties, etc. with that. Over to you, John Baptiste.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Jean-Baptiste Milogo from Burkina Faso. I'm Burkina Faso IXP Executive Director and also working at Orange Burkina Faso IPMPLS Team Manager. So our IXP grew from 2015, and from that time we was only 2 peers, so Orange and government ICT network, and we grow from this period to now to 14 peers, and inside our peers we have all major player, telecommunication operator, government, and private ISP as member. In our situation also, we are, Burkina Faso is a local country, and for that we need to cooperate with some CDN provider, and this is some kind of thing we can support our community to offload some international traffic. And for our IXP operation management, we need those kind of partners, because due to the situation our country, we need to build this kind of thing. So from 2015 to now, as you can see on the graph, our traffic grew from, let me say, 5 megabytes daily traffic to now we have around 7 gigabyte traffic. This means that the role of IXP is very interesting in our situation. So next. So for a local country position and managing IXP, making collaboration and partnership is very important for us, because we need many stockholders that we can support out to build, to learn, and to make things happen better. So basically, we got at setup time, we got some support from our government with the initial IXP hardware from his partners. And we got from them also a small technical team, because in that period, each partners must bring is one member from the team to support IXP installation. And add to this national support, we also got some knowledge sharing from IXP and networking community around the world in Africa, especially AFIX community, and we got also opportunity to participate to a fifth meeting, and from those meetings we got opportunity to meet some IXP industry experts, and this opportunity permit us to to learn more about how to support our XP. And during those sessions, we was in link with ISOC, and due to our situation in Lockland country, it was very challenging for us to support the operation need for cash field internet access. And since this year, we got some support from cash field program from ISOC, and this will permit to support operation and collaboration already ongoing with national partners. Next. So from collaboration and partnership, one thing we found is very important to build an IXP and keep this infrastructure very important in internet ecosystem in country is capacity building for us, because we find that when we can run some capacity building opportunity, it is a way to unify the community and to build and maintain a strong community engagement. Because it's, as you have seen before, we are just 2 peers at beginning and now we are 14. It means that we need to continue to take an advantage and opportunity from capacity building and make a team team maintaining in some attempt or engagement. We also think that when we can run some capacity building, it is a way to develop the IXP members, because the others we haven't joined the team can, so that the critical infrastructure is growing and they can join the team, and based on the team we got on training, it is a way to launch some kind of NOC community, because the IXC team can exchange some support to each other, and it is a kind of NOC community, and we think that capacity building can support from that way. So we also noticed that generally when we run the IXP, one of the challenge is the application of best practices. So sometimes we can run the IXP, we can run the internet core router, but when we learn from capacity building the best practice, it is a way for members and for IXP to fine-tune the infrastructure and service. And based on that, we can increase the security of the infrastructure. And in our case, when we got from ISOC the support to run the peering workshop in January 2019, after this workshop, we got two key things. We was able to move the IXP infrastructure from layer 3 to layer 2. And this was very difficult to do without the workshop. And also, we got some increase of traffic during just 1 year for around 120%. This means that in case when the IXP members is exposed to capacity building, it is the way we can perform the infrastructure operation phase. So next. So, okay, this it's an opportunity for me to welcome you and peer with us in our IXP. So you have here my contact and also a contact of my colleague Wilfried and our peering details. We have also all information, and we will be happy to get you peering with us in our suite fabric in Burkina Faso. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, John Baptiste. And we have a couple of questions for you. First question we have is from Guinea. The challenge for operators to interconnecting into my country is due to the economic model, which they find very restrictive. They can be subject to payment of staggering annual amounts and interconnection to local traffic offered by the IXP Guinea. What do you think is an advisable model to facilitate and encourage operators to interconnect? Do you have any ideas on that one?
Yes. Can I answer right now, or you will? Okay.
You can answer right now.
Yes. So I think in our case, the first thing is to have a community working together to define how the IXP will run. In our case, we bring together all the operators and we try to show them the operation cost of the IXP versus the cost of international traffic or in national peering. I think when those things was explaining, we decided together to have one members we can provide the cost of international bandwidth to fill the cache, and based on that, the other will support by cost sharing. So I think the first thing is to have a clear discussion between the members and to define together the model.
Great, thank you very much. And I think we had one more question for you, and
Yes.
that was, how has it been end-to-end? How has been the end-to-end latency performance in Burkina Faso?
Come again, please.
How has the latency been from end to end in Burkina Faso?
The latency, if I,
that's it,
yes.
great.
So from Burkina Faso to outside it around, let me say 250 milliseconds to get the good content. But when we bring the content inside country, it's under 15 milliseconds, 50 milliseconds. This means that it can bring a better customer experience for all members. Hello, Asta.
I was on mute then, sorry about that. Okay, great, thank you very much. And I think that's all the questions that we had directly for you. I don't know if we had a poll running during that session. I don't see any results. Oh, we do. The poll that we had was, how can regulators and policymakers encourage local peering? And the overwhelming winner for that was provide incentives and develop local policies that encourage operators to peer. Great, thank you very much, everyone. And we will now be hearing from Bijal from EuroIX, and she'll be discussing resilience from an IXP and infrastructure perspective.
Okay, thanks, thanks, Esther. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So first of all, I'm going to just quickly introduce EuroIX and then go on to talk about resiliency, as Esther just said. So first of all, EuroIX is an association for IXPs. Currently we have 75 members. While it suggests Euro and the members being from Europe, we do have members from all over the world. The key things we do is we hold 2 meetings a year, and we work on projects related to IXPs and peering. One of the main projects we're currently working on is the IXP database, and we have fellowship and mentor programs. We have a number of root server projects going on. We hold IXP related workshops, as Jane said earlier. We've done some in partnership with ISOC. And we're currently working on a more peering related project, which is the peering toolbox. And we're planning on launching that in a couple of weeks. Next slide, please. So I'm going to be talking about the resilience that IXPs bring. And when I was first given this, topic, I thought, well, let's see what the dictionary's definition of resiliency is. And resiliency is the power or ability to return to original form or position. So after being bent or compressed, or being able to come back to how it originally was. When we look at this from an IXP perspective, you want the IXP to recover quickly, but also you need to consider the resiliency the IXP actually provides to networks, which allows networks to recover quickly. So IXPs provide resiliency in many ways. And, we all know this. Resiliency should be built in, shouldn't be an afterthought, because it could be too late. Next slide, please. So one of the key and I think most basic things that the IXP does is it provides interconnection. And this provides a platform for networks to connect to exchange internet traffic, which is not via a transit provider. As we've heard already, it improves redundancy and latency. We've seen in many places where having an IXP improves latency to certain places on the internet. And as per the poll, and again, I think, we all know this, keeps traffic local and keeps the costs down for local networks. So I had that in there before the poll, so yes, clearly they're true. And when we talk about keeping traffic local, we talk about it not tromboning, and what that means is going off outside internationally or somewhere else and increasing the latency or the time to actually reach your destination. And it also provides a solution during cable cuts and fiber cuts and other international shutdowns. Then we look at the IXP infrastructure. Is the IXP housed in different locations with diverse fiber access? And is there enough space, power and spares where the IXP is located? Because all this coming together brings resiliency. Next slide, please. One thing that I think kind of gets missed is governance and the human side of an IXP. Good governance allows the IXP to grow as it needs to, and relationships with other IXPs, for example, via their IXPAs. You've got AFIX, APIX, EURIX, and LACIX, which brings further experience and support when needed. Things like community building, IXPs provide a platform for communities to come together. And for example, during this time of the coronavirus, when it first came to Europe, we held a members meeting and have done regularly, weekly since, to share what's been going on. Initially, this was obviously really useful because we had the Italian IXs who joined and were able to share their experience, but also other IXs that had taken steps to protect the IX and measures that needed to be taken. And IXPs help foster relationships and partnerships with other bodies, such as ISOC and PCH and other NOGs. For example, during this time, we've seen IT NOG and UK NOG bringing additional expertise and support for the larger community. And they've done this by holding meetings, sharing critical information, and things like that. And I just wanted to point out that there's a video here. It's the Internet Revealed. It's a 5-minute video, and we have it in a number of different languages. And it really shows you what benefits and resiliency the IXP brings to the internet. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Bijal. I think we've got a couple of questions, but first I will give you the results of the poll. The question for the poll was, is it the IXP's role to bring resilience to the internet? And the overwhelming answer to that was yes. So thank you very much, everyone. And we had a question, I believe, from, I won't try to pronounce the name because I don't want to mispronounce it, so I'll just read the question out. We're conducting a study here in Comoros to establish an IXP. Do we have to contact a key person from an IXP in Africa for some questions or interviews? Don't know if you know the answer to that, Bija.
I'm not sure I understand the question fully. Are they looking for support? If they are, there are definitely local communities they can work with. Yeah, great. Including ISOC and AFIX and yeah, EuroX as well.
Yeah, great, thank you. I assume they're looking to start something, so I think those would be the best people for them to contact.
Yeah, get in touch.
And we had a hand raised by, again, I don't want to mispronounce anybody's name. Person with their hand raised, could you share your question with us?
I'm Spiso Bright Malaza from South Africa, Gauteng chapter. So my question is that here in South Africa, we've got only hurricane that provides a international backhaul transit. So it's quite expensive, and I'm not sure if maybe we can have other service providers, the backhaul service provider.
Sorry, did he get cut off, or was that the question? He's been cut off? Okay.
As a small ISPs and the small organizations, how can we actually affiliate with that?
So sorry, I missed some of your question. Were you talking about asking about affiliating with AFIX or?
I'm talking with regard to the international exchange point, because here in South Africa we only have hurricane, and it's quite expensive, especially they're counting in dollars.
You're talking about Hurricane Electric as in the provider, or?
Perhaps that one can go in the chat so that we can understand it better.
Yeah, we'll come back to that one in the Q&A session. Thank you very much, Bijal, and thank you for the question.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
We'll come back to you, thank you. Okay, and we'll now move on to our final speaker, and that is Roberto from Bolivia, IXP, and he'll also be discussing the collaboration and the policy and regulation issues that he's been having. Thank you very much. Over to you, Roberto.
Thank you very much, Esther. It's great to be with you and all the people that it's in the call today. I have seen so many friends. Well, I want to start talking about how it started way long ago. We had a project that was founded by Swedish Corporation and University KTH. We actually hold at university our very first IXP back in 2004. We have 4 ISPs that were participants in the project, plus, of course, the university that was holding it. We worked only for 2 years. We cannot manage to extend and get more success in this project. I will say because of the IXP regulation that by that time it wasn't approved. So that was a major thing that wouldn't allow us to continue with the work. And well, the other important thing is that the major IXPs by that time that were holding more than 80% of traffic actually were not interested to work with that. So that are the two main reasons why we didn't succeed by that time. Next, please. Well, then after a while, by 2011, we as a country issued a law. It was the current law actually, and it was established there the obligation of interconnection through a internet exchange point. It's called PIT, which is now the official IXP in Bolivia, and now it's running. The whole operators are running this IXP. It again had a little bit of low start. It actually started back in 2013, and I will say that it was fully developed by 2016. The people again in charge of this were the operators, and they had support from the regulator that was, of course, wanted to foster this implementation, as well as some other organizations such as ISOC and also LACNIC. Well, by that time, there were 6 operators. Now the IXP have 10 connected operators, not the content generators, which is an important actor, and I would like to explain a little bit about it. And well, it was a little bit of a low growth of traffic right now. Just comparing how we have a 400 gigabits per second of total connection for our country, and I think we have no more than 5 gigabits per second in traffic regarding to the IXP. Can we have the next, please? And well, about these content generators, I will say that there are 2 main actors. In one side, we have the universities, and the other side, we have the government offices. Can we go to the next one? And well, it's important also to acknowledge that before 2010, most of the connections to the content of these offices, I mean, universities or public offices, were developed inside their premises using their high-speed connections. So connecting outside was not the issue. Most of the information that was allowed to get from these great content generators were mostly by information using their web pages. Can we go to the next, please? But after 2010, we all know that most of the traffic are being generated from inside to outside. Most of the people are accessing to this traffic outside of the offices. And since we have a really big deploy of the application, the mobile applications, so there are many content, many information traffic that's going on through internet and outside the premises of the universities. And of course, the local governments have the same thing. Next, please. Well, and as we can see, we have growing emerging requirements, particularly of bandwidth, then of course cost a lot of money, and in this scenario, it's really difficult to get through these requirements. I'm talking about internet services. Next, please. And that's why it's important to acknowledge how is the current situation, I mean, where the current situation without an IXP before the implementation of the national IXP. As we all know, all the traffic needs to go through internet independent of where it comes. We can see as an example 3 operators here, and the users of those operations have to go through internet to get to the content. Next, please. So an initial implementation of the IXP, that's the good thing is that we don't have to go through internet anymore. Most of the traffic then will go through IXPs when it's about local content, but still it could be improved. Next, please. And I will say that this is the best deployment. And when we have not only the operators connected to IXP, but also the content generators, like universities, for example, in which all the traffic will be preferring to go through the IXP instead even the actual internet connections, therefore getting all the improvements we may think about liberating the internet connection and of course to getting better performance for their connections. We can go next, please. And that's why about collaboration and partnership, we developed, we as an ISOC, I say we developed a project in order to support the academic network and therefore to implement an academic IXP, which of course is different from the national IXP, and with the idea to connect different universities around the country that finally, of course, get a direct connection to the national IXP and therefore obtain all the benefits that we may think regarding to the Optimus connection that we saw before. Next, please. Well, it's important for the future of IXPs, not only in my country, but also in other different situations. It's important to think about who makes the decisions about IXP administration. It could be the telecommunication regulator, only the founder members, maybe the founder members plus the new members, maybe the designated general manager. So those are things that are different among the different IXPs. Next, please. About the business model, well, in some cases, there are same contributions for every operator. Some others contributions are based on traffic exchange. In some other cases, contributions are based on connection speeds. Perhaps this was very common in different experiences in the past. But considering how much the technology have grown and how high the speeds are routing right now in connection, so the higher speed, the best that they are going to be connected. And of course, there are other ways to make contribution, like through fixed fees per services. Next, please. And this is the last slide, and it's important also to see which entities may be connected to IXPs, just maybe ISPs with international connections, any ISPs, international content providers, local content providers like government and universities, or other smaller ISPs. And I think this is this gives me a very nice example to tell regarding this collaboration between different actors. When we had our local internet governance forums, we managed to support actually the connection of other smaller IXPs. And after that, about several months from there, we got to convince, I mean, as a community, not only the regulator, but also the head of the sector, the telecommunications vice minister, to foster this kind of connection and to a kind of open the possibility of connection to different other smaller operators. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much, Roberto. And I believe we had a poll running. Do we have the results? I can see the poll, but I can't see any results at the moment. And the question for the poll was, can there be more than one IXP in the same city or country operated by different entities? So if you feel free to cast your votes, and I'll share the results once we have those. And while we're waiting for that, we'll be moving on now into our question and answer session. These questions are going to be open to all the members of the panel, so anyone feel free to answer a question you feel is relevant for you, or more than one person can answer, obviously not at the same time. So we'll go into the questions now. We have a question from Fred. He said, are there two Pakistani IXPs directly connected? I think that would be a good one for Ahmed.
Sorry for that. Actually, we have around 100 ISPs in Pakistan, but we have around 9 of them are participating in the IXP, and we are actually coordinating with all of the ISPs and mobile operators to become part of the IXP. And I would like to share one example. We had a board member from the mobile operators, and they are also laying fiber at the Higher Education Commission, which is the site for Islamabad IX, and they do not agree to participate in the IXP. So I really can't understand. They every time they say, okay, tell us whether it is a regulatory obligation or not. So it's very tricky.
Okay.
Yeah, I will also jump in. Esther, if you can give me to the. So currently the IXPs are not connected. They are not connected. So one in Karachi and one in Islamabad, they're not connected. But perhaps in future, once we have a couple of more IX, as Ahmed said, coming up, it would be a good time to rethink and revisit if there is a need to reconnect them. The reason primarily is that the IXPs are very, they are very new. It's been only 2.5 years since in Pakistan IX has started working, but it's a good point, and I hope Ahmed perhaps will also take an account of that.
Yeah, actually, sorry, I thought he is talking about ISPs. Regarding the IXP, actually, we have selected Higher Education Commission because they have a backhaul from between all of the major cities. So it's quite possible to connect all of these IXPs in Karachi, Islamabad, and Lahore because they have their own backhaul. And but at the moment, the board has decided not to connect until and unless we have increased traffic from each city.
Great, thank you very much. And I've got another question, again for Pakistan. I'm concerned by the ISP and corporate question. Is membership in an IXP and regulatory requirement in Pakistan, which I believe you said it's not? It tells me that they either do not know that IXPs keep local traffic local, or they don't believe that it gives them a benefit. They normally communicate, and it says, do the IXPs serve popular CDNs such as Akamai and Google, etc.?
Yeah. Right now, CDNs are not deployed in the IXP because we need to have more space, which currently HEC do not have. And most of the large ISPs and mobile operators are already having CDN. So one part. The second part regarding the membership is quite open. Actually the IXP board devised some fee, minimum fee from the ISPs. Even that fee has been charged from any of the operators last 4 years. So it is basically, and we coordinated each of the large ISPs and mobile operator to join IXP, but I'm not sure what was the reason behind. And even we convinced them that you will become part of the universities. PERN has Pakistan Educational and Research Network has connected 200 universities, and they can have market of 200 universities, students of that universities. But one operator is mobile operator is getting benefit of that. Why you are not getting? But even then, they are not convinced. I'm not sure what is the problem behind it. But if we impose some regulatory implications, then they said, okay, then we will join. So it is their internal matter which we do not interfere at the moment.
Great, thank you very much. We have another question here from Sherman. With respect to resiliency, we've seen, especially in the Caribbean, how the IXPs have contributed to a resilient internet, especially during natural disasters. Are there other experiences from Asia Pacific and Africa?
So for Asia, if I can come in quickly to answer, Philippines is one of the examples where we have seen the national disasters hitting quite often, and the IX that is there is an open IX, and in fact, Internet Society has been involved as well in helping them. It's been a quite helpful instrument in terms of improving the resiliency. Then we have Pacific down in the Asia, which is also a very disaster-prone area. And currently we are working there with few governments to see if there is a need to establish IX. But Philippines is, of course, one example that I can clearly quote from Asia.
Great, thank you very much. Does anyone else have any response to that one, or should we move on to the next question?
Esther, it's Jane. I just wanted to mention that often if you do have a cable cut, maybe if you have a submarine cable coming into a country, the IXP can really keep local traffic flowing, even when you have a cut, or if there's a shutdown in a government area, the resiliency of the local internet is maintained when you have an IX or several IXPs. I know that that was shown on the submarine cable side in Kenya recently, not recently, but many years ago, and some other countries. Machuki may have more data on that. Machuki, do you have more info on that with the cable cut that took place in Kenya?
Yes, so that was some time back, but suddenly what tends to happen is that if you have key infrastructure like DNS servers and local content like government sites, etc., that tends to continue working. And also the outages on the cable mean that operators will then have to find alternative paths, which tend to become quite congested. And so local content or local access to locally hosted websites or content will not be affected. And what people tend to notice more is trying to reach content that's outside the country during those periods.
Great, thank you very much, everyone. And we have another question now from Jorge. What can you recommend for countries which the major distributed ISP is owned by the government? Smaller ISPs and telecom providers do not trust in it, and therefore it's difficult to establish an IXP. Do you have any suggestions on how they could work around that, maybe?
Shall I respond?
Yes, of course.
Okay, we have the similar example in the past. ISPs were not able to develop their own IXP because they were not trusting each other, as this question is. So in that situation, we as a regulator jumped in, and ISPs were having trust on us. That's why we were able to establish IX. So some of the neutral body in their country should come forward so that they can establish a non-profit IX for all of the ISPs.
Can I add something?
Of course.
Well, I think like we had in our experience in Bolivia back in 2004, it's important to provide perhaps a different entity, not an operator per se, to try to give that neutrality to the issue and to perhaps come up to be the one that would be hosting the IXP. Hopefully, it's of course it goes together with the regulation disposition that somehow not force but try to convince the operator to be connected through this kind of neutral IXPs. Thank you.
Can I add something, Esther?
Of course.
Yeah, I think at the beginning, our situation was something like this. We have just 2 members because the other ISP and operator in country, there is some security issue for some of them. And what we try to do is to have some non-profit organization which is very independent from government and which is in charge of IXP management. Based on that input, we've seen that most of ISP and operator which are not joined the initiative and beginning join us after. And also they saw that when we start operating, they can make some kind of measurement of value add the IXP can add on inside the regular operation.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we have another question now from Timothy. Will more IXPs help with emerging costs, or will it exaggerate the emerging costs? And that one's to anyone.
If I may, I don't think it will eliminate costs. It would support the idea of that since we're going to liberate the traffic that usually goes through internet, and of course we are paying for that connection, for that internet connection, then when this traffic doesn't go through this internet links and goes through directly through IXP, of course you can liberate, but perhaps you are still paying for the original cost in the IXP. So I think it's a matter of liberating the current circuits and of course improving the speed of your connections more than getting rid of costs.
Shall I add?
Yes, of course.
My point of view is that if more ISPs will join, the cost will reduce because you don't have to invest more. You have already the switches intact, and you have the same power supply power, and you have the same cooling requirement. So nothing will add in the cost. So what can be done? So the cost in the end can be reduced by dividing all infrastructure cost into all of the ISPs. So in my opinion, it will reduce the cost depending the model of the IXP. If they are running non-for-profit, then it will. And if they are running for profit, then no matter.
One word from me. So I think normally if we have more members, the operation cost must decrease. And I think this is the model we can bring more members, because from their side, they will reduce international costs and national traffic costs. If you case our case here, we have a national cloud, government cloud, which is connected to our switch fabric. This normally can decrease the traffic. You want to bring outside the country in the non-IXP situation. I think more members will decrease our costs. And the other thing we need also to highlight, it is the customer better experience, because in terms of latency is very important to show to members that it's not only linked to the cost, but the customer experience for the service they are provided.
Great, thank you very much. And on to our next question from Maha. Will universities or any content provider connect directly to IXP or licensed operators, ISPs?
Well, in our case, the idea was to not go directly to the national IXP because of the nature of the content that they are providing. And as one other question was asking related to the national research and academic networks, yes, the idea was to get together all the universities in that kind of network, but at the same time to constitute an academic ISP. So it's easier to connect the academic ISP with the national IXP.
Hello?
Yep,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. From our side, it's a little bit different. From our side, all operator ISP national research network on CDN provider, let me say all content provider can join our X-Switch fabric. There is no restriction because for us, we need to be open to all internet ecosystem players and offer a better service and experience to our countries. So this is our approach. There is no restriction, even if you are a member of internet players.
So my point of view is that we can not directly connect to ISPs if they are taking services. Then it is fine, but it would not get the benefit of the IXP. So in our case, Pakistan Education and Research Network, which is already connected to 200 universities, and they are connecting to fiber to IXP, then it is reducing the cost for all of them. So they are getting benefit of speed and cost, and they do not have to invest for the fiber laying for some other ISPs.
Hi, Bijal here. I just wanted to really echo on the last two questions what the other panelist said, and that is, first of all, on the reducing of the cost. This by joining the IXP, you're saving on IP transit cost, which is usually billed per meg. So by joining the IXP, you're spreading the load, and at the same time, like has been said before, it reduces the latency and end user experience. On the question now on whether research networks and CDNs can join IXPs, and they are welcome at IXPs in most cases, and that's really the whole point of the IXP, is to bring these networks together. Hopefully there's more of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bijal, and everyone else. Okay, we've got a hand raised from Hasia, if you'd like to ask your question.
Actually, I think his hand might have been raised from the last time.
Okay. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. We have another question from Maha, and the question is, what is the best type of IXP to start with? A non-profit, profit, or academia?
I will say that, if I may, the situations are going to maybe drive what the decision will be. Usually, when we are talking about a neutral institution that is going to host the IXP, usually the shape is a non-profit organization. But in time, if some other operator, some other people want to invest in this, and it's going to keep the cost low, maybe in charging the operators to get together, well, that should be another alternative. Regarding the academic, I will say the academic is, and it's not always the case. I want to clarify to John Baptist that in our case in Bolivia, it's not that the universities can't get to or can't connect to the national IXP. It's a matter of perhaps it's a natural connection between the universities by them into a sort of an academic IXP, and then just one big connection from this IXP, an academic IXP to the other. So it's, the academic IXP is just a particular experience. I wouldn't say that it's the usual way to connect in different other countries.
Yeah, actually, universities, if they are connected to each other, they cannot get to have an IXP. It will create a educational research network. So if they are connecting to some other ISPs, then it will be an IXP. And they can become part of that IXP through their educational research network. So regarding the non-profit, I think, and profit, I think non-profit is the best model to start with. So to reduce the cost and can have get more benefit from that. But if you put for some for profit, so there will be some commercial interest, so they can put in some advantages to that. They can bring in CDNs and some other thing. So it will create attraction for all of them. But the best model at the moment for the startup is the non-profit.
So I think I support a part of what Ahmed is saying. I think we try here to start with a profit IXP, but it was very challenging to set up this kind of community because operator is generally competitor and ISP is competitor with operator. And when we start, we try to start with a profit IXP, it was challenges. So that is why from our side, we moved to a non-profit, and the cost is not very high and it's very easy to manage it. Maybe in the future, depending on the evolution, on the development of the IXP, if time comes and we need to change the type of the community, maybe at that time we'll decide, and based on the bylaw, we'll see. But for me, the best way, depending the context, it is to start with non-profit one and follow the evolution. If there is really some challenge to move to profit, so we can the team can move it, or they can also have another ISP, a profit ISP, and the non-profit one in the same country or town. It depends on the opportunity and profit and the leader inside the community.
Hi, I would just like to again agree with my colleagues there and say that you know, in general, IXPs that start up are non-profit because it's usually networks coming together for a reason which is either latency or cost saving. So kind of trying to save cost and then make money out of a project doesn't quite seem right. So you know, in general, I've seen IXPs start off as non-profit and yeah, they've been successful.
Great, thank you very much, everyone. Now we're into our last almost 10 minutes. We've still got quite a few questions to go. Our next question is from Wilfredo, and the question is from Venezuela. Who financed the development there, and how has their experience been? Don't know if anyone knows the answer to that one.
Well, in our case, the first experience in 2004, as I said, it was funded by Swedish Cooperation Agency, SIDA, and that helped us, of course, with the equipment particularly. The latest experience, the last experience, I will say, back in 2013, I think it was self-supported because there was a mandate in the new law back then, 2011. So the operators needed to get funds to start the IXP. But I think they got also some support from some other institutions like ISA, perhaps. And that's the usual model. In some other cases, there are some other ways to get funding. Some are coming from, of course, the same operators, but it will depend on the situations and the possibilities that each country will have.
Great, thank you very much.
In Pakistan, we have a different example. We are sharing cost of the capacity building. It was done by ISOC. The equipment was provided by ISOC and Huawei, and the hosting site is not charging from anyone. So it can be a shared model. So it depends on the stakeholders where they agree on.
Great, thank you very much. And we'll move on to our next question, which is from Jane, and it's for Bijal. Do the IXPs in Europe help with training and to help train and develop other IXPs and help build capacity?
Yes, I think that from my experience and from seeing what the members do, they do a lot of this. We have, they have IXP programs to come together, and and this is also done during the EuroIX meetings, where different people come together and find ways to share information and learn from each other. Also, in terms of training, we've had programs where IXPs have kind of exchanged offices for a couple of days and been in different places so they can learn from each other in that way as well. IXPs also offer training. They do lots of different training things on BGP. When we talk about capacity building, in terms of they offer this through their meetings for members. So yes, this is done in lots of different ways. Actually, EuroIX is also offering training, like marketing training. We've done for the IXPs, where they've been able to get a bit of it's not just about learning about marketing or strategy, but it's also about being able to apply it and being in the same room with other IXPs so that you can learn from others and share different experiences. And this is one of the key things that we try and do to help support IXPs, and not just EuroIX, but there's lots of other organisations that do this and provide this kind of knowledge base to share.
Great, thank you very much, Bijal. And we'll move on to our next question, which is from Michael. And he says, in Europe, data from CDNs like Cloudflare and Akamai have shown a huge 40 to 60% increase in total amount of traffic. The data also shows the largest increase is during the office hours, as more people are working from home, video conferences, etc. And there's also been a shift in the sites from sports to more kids sites, etc. What does your traffic data show since the COVID crisis started? And I guess that's to everyone.
I can start here. So like I explained, we've been having these regular meetings, so a number of IXPs have been coming on the call, and traffic, I think, is just one of those things that you always, it's one of the most obvious kind of performances that you see from the IXP. And so when during this, the coronavirus, when it first started and we started to see people working from home, in general, IXPs saw approximately between 50 and 30% increase in traffic at their IXPs. So this was going back to mid to early March. Like I said, we've been having these calls quite regularly, and what we've learned over time, and like you said, the traffic from day to night has balanced out, so you don't really see that change anymore. But what we've heard, on the last call was that in some cases, and I don't know if this is because some countries have already started to go back to work a couple of days a week, but they are starting to see the traffic also come down again. It's not quite normalized, but maybe there was like a huge excitement at the beginning where everyone wanted to get online and use the internet, and it's kind of now starting to wear off, or people are going back to work. But while there has been an overall increase in internet traffic at the IXPs, it is starting to come down. So it'll be interesting to see as we go back to work what happens there. That's just a kind of overall. I'm sure the others can give you a bit more detailed information.
Hello? Yeah. Esther, can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So in our case, what we notice, generally we notice that as the government network is connecting to our Swiss fabric, there is a increase of traffic at office opening, and at the end we have also this kind of movement on the graph every day, and it's a way for us to understand what is the real thing that some guys are doing at office, because we can see that most of traffic is going to CDN side. But during the COVID situation, what we see here, we saw that we have an increase of global CDN access. This means that most of them are connected on Facebook, and they are discussing and sharing some kind of video, some kind of, I think what we notice here is an increase on global data traffic, but most of them as already in country. This was very highlighted by some operator, because they have seen that, and it means that when the guys are working from home and they are focusing on some kind of issue, there is some clear impact on what kind of thing they are trying to see.
And I comment about our experience. Actually, it's not the best example here in Bolivia, because as I said at the beginning of the presentation, the relation is just about a little above of 1%, maybe near 2%, the traffic compared to the national internet traffic. But it's not the same in some surrounding countries that are good for the example, because I think they already have around 30% of the whole internet traffic. And talking about that percentage, I will say that the increases are between 20 to 30% now in the crisis regarding to the past.
Great, thank you very much. And we'll try and squeeze in another question or two. We've got another 5 minutes left. Our next question is from Fanuel, and it's, with a country having only one ISP, would it be advisable to also have an IXP in the same country?
It's not a point of connecting to ISP, because it is only one ISP and no one to share traffic with. So simply, no.
Yeah, I would also say that if there's just one network in the country, then there doesn't seem to be a need for an IXP, which is really hard to say, actually.
I had a different opinion. In my case, well, in our country, as a case, our main major cities, we have 3 major cities. There is only one IXP in one of the cities. And just to have an idea, we have the cities separated by 1,000 kilometers perhaps. And it would be good if some other IXP or the national IXP, because that's the idea, the national IXP implement their local IXP in the other cities. And in some case, perhaps the national IXP can provide, can put in place a node in one of these cities. Perhaps some other people will be able to do it, maybe the local operators, because in our case, there are also local big operators for internet service, not the traditional big ones, and perhaps they would like to do that, and those will be different from the national IXP. But of course, the idea afterwards is to connect all these IXP together.
Great, thank you very much. We'll move on to our last question for today, and that's from Lamine from Guinea. ISPs are not willing to join with IXPs because of the high joining and membership fees. How do we encourage the ISPs to join with the local ISP? What incentives can be used to encourage the ISPs to join?
So I think first of all we need to discuss with potential members and potential key player of the country, and let them know the value add they can have if they are bidding together. I think generally we need to explain also to the guys how things can work better if they are connecting through an exchange point inside the country instead of exchanging traffic outside via international route. I think this can be something we can bring them on the IXP. And the other thing is also to make some kind of cost comparisons. If you can talk them the cost of OPEX and CAPEX when they will continue to exchange traffic via international route instead of national, I think sometimes they can join you. The other thing is to let them know that the development also of interconnection is better if they are connecting to exchange. I think generally most of operator is coming from sometimes telco domain, and from this domain, my opinion is that there is some natural competition every time for between them. So we need to let them know that things can change and the world is also changing. So I think we need to discuss to have some kind of clear discussion with them and let them know the value add.
Great, thank you very much. I think we've run out of time here with our questions. Is that correct? Yes, I believe so. So now I believe we'll be moving on over to how we can get involved with more information. I think it's Jane.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Evelyn, actually, I'm going to turn it over to you because you are our good moderator here on the Get Involved part.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. This has been such an awesome conversation. And I must say that we've had a lot of these intercommunities and we've not seen this much interaction in the chat like today. So thanks so much for staying engaged, but also for asking all these questions. For those of you whose questions have not been answered, we'll make sure that we follow up. So on this Get Involved page, you'll see email addresses for Jen, Michuki Mwangi, as well as Naveed. Please get in touch with them for all of the other questions that you might have. And we'll also have these questions in one simple place, and we'll share this with the project lead so that they can follow up with you. But from all of us at the Internet Society, we'd like to thank you for joining, and we wish you the very, very best. Thank you so much, guys, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
This was amazing.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm going to.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you.
And great to see so many of you from around the world. It's really exciting. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. From Zambia. Thank you.
Girls, connect a bit hard.
Meeting budget.
Meeting first round via internet.
Yes. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you to everyone.
Hello.